the flower. I read 35 books in the year of 2023 and I feel like it was such a good reading year. Welcome to my channel. My name is Andrea. If you like all things self-care, productive, tech, and books, then you're here at the right place. Hit the like and subscribe and let's get on with the video. Start off the year, I read Babel by R.F. Kuang. It's like a historical fantasy fiction and it's about a couple of students that are basically recruited from different countries in the world to speak a kind of like study their language and become a proficient language speaker. So it's such a good book. I rated it 5 stars. It is definitely it's thick book. I want to say it's like over 500 pages. Yeah, just a little over 500 pages. Such a good book. It was the first book that I read of R.F. Kuang's and it's so good. Easier. I read If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. It's like I want to say it's like a mystery thriller dark academia book. Very Shakespeare. If you're into Shakespeare, I like it. You probably like it. And I've heard that it's been compared to The Secret History by Donna Tartt, I believe. I gave it like, okay, I gave it a 3.5 stars. 3.5 stars. The next book I forgot that I read is a duology. It's Daughter of the Moon Goddess and Heart of the Sun Warrior by Cilan Sea. I really like this book. The only thing that I'm like so mad about is I bought the paperback and then the hard copy. I wish I bought them both in hard copy just so they can like look good together. The Celestial Kingdom Duology, and if you're into that, it's really good. I definitely recommend it. Such a beautiful story. And yeah, I rated the first one 4 stars and then the second one 5 stars. Next up, I read Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This is such a good book. I think it was like my first literary fiction. We're following Sam and Sadie that they're like to program and design games, and it's all about friendship, love. Oh my god, this book made me like broke my heart at times, and it's so good, so good. It felt like a really long book, but I believe it's only like about 400 pages. Well, if it's still about, yeah, just about 400 pages. Rated it 5 stars. 5 stars. If you haven't read Tomorrow, it's so good, and I love the cover. It's like one of my favorite books just to look at. It's such a beautiful cover. I realize I'm not really going in, I feel like I'm going in order from the year down, but I don't remember if I read it in January or February. I believe Tomorrow was in February. And then I read 6 Crimson Cranes. It's just a duology by Elizabeth Lim, and I was told that it was like a Sailor Moon vibes. It was such a good book. Good duology. I loved it. It's about a girl named Shiori. I really like her name, Shiori, and she has a secret where she has magic, and this magic is forbidden. So we're just following her journey along. I believe she was not banished, she was like cast away by her stepmother. It's so good. I rated the first one 4 stars and the second one 5 stars. The second one is The Dragon's Promise, and it's so good. Then I read The Stolen Heir by Holly Black because I love the Cruel Prince trilogy. I read it back in 2022 and I was like super excited for this book to come out. And it is after the Cruel Prince trilogy, and we're following Ren, which is like the daughter of the ice goddess, from the Court of Teeth. So we're following her story, and she's actually have a love interest, which her love interest is Prince Oak, which is like the little brother of Jude and Taryn from the first trilogy. And I rated it about 3.5 stars. I think it's because it is definitely like a first book. Whenever it's a first book, it's kind of like not as good as like second or third. Okay, so I'm just gonna do this all at once because I read it at different times, but I read the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I never realized how good this book was. I seen it on TikTok like so many times, like the year prior, but I was like, oh, I don't know. And so like I gave it a shot, and it was so good. It's like very whimsical, fairy telling. Like this is honestly, Stephanie Garber is like one of my favorite authors till this day because it's so good. Like even all of them were so good. I bought all 3, and the first one I rated it a 4 star, the second one was 5 stars, and then the third one it was okay. It was, I want to say I gave it like 3.75, but all of them is so good. And I love the back the spine is so cute. So I feel like in the summer I was definitely in like my romance era, because I read If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin. Now at first I wasn't so sure about this book because I've seen it around and I've seen that it was like sad and like really angsty, and I was like it is like a slow burn. I'm usually not about slow burn books because I get bored easily, but I feel like it was definitely a slow burn. I rated it 5 stars because it was so cute. I feel like her writing was so good. It made me like picture the whole story like I was in a movie. And at the end, I don't want to spoil it, but it was sad. It was sad. So if you're not in the mood for like crying a little bit, like getting sad, don't read the book, but I recommend this book. And then the next read was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I read her two of her other books in 2022. I read Book Lovers and then People We Meet on Vacation, which I did really like the books. My favorite one was Book Lovers, but Happy Place was such a cute book. And it's more like a character driven book, but it's a group of friends that they like to vacation together. And I feel like this whole book was just about miscommunication. Like that's really what it was, but it was such a good book and I related so much to it. So that's why I gave it 5 stars. And then I took a trip down memory lane and I read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. I love the Harry Potter series. I love rewatching the movies so many times. So I was like, I want to read the book. I've only read the first one this year. This is a reread. I read all the whole series when I was younger, but I just wanted to read it again. I plan on reading the rest of the series like eventually in a month or so. But obviously this was 5 stars. I love the book and I love comparing books to the movies. Next up, I read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I was really hesitant on reading this book because it was blowing up on TikTok. I was like, I don't know. And then my sister recommended it to me and I was like, you know, I'll read it because you like it, I'll read it. Now, I definitely like the whole like dragons divergent kind of feel. That's what it really felt to me. But I did not give it a 5 stars. To me, it was not 5 stars. It was like more of a 4 stars. Definitely between like high fantasy and then romance. And at one point, I couldn't tell like whether it was like we're just sticking with fantasy or if it's just a romance book. It was definitely a romance book. This is a good book if you're wanting to get into fantasy. Then I read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is my first sci-fi book and it was so good. I want to say I rated like 6 stars because it's so good. And I also listened to the audiobook and it was such a great experience. I love the narrator. He did so well on telling the story. We are following Rylan Grace and is a sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and Earth itself will perish. And it's so good. The book I read was Trust of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This was my first Brandon Sanderson book and I loved it. It's a Princess Bride retelling and we're following Tress, who loves to collect cups. That's her thing. She loves to collect cups. And her love interest was kidnapped by a sorceress, and so she wants to leave her island and go save the love of her life. And it's so good. I think about it till this day. This is also another 6-star read. I feel like I was on a roll this summer. It's so good. I recommend it to everybody. I always tell my sisters like, you better read this book because it's so good. And I'm really excited to read more of Brandon Sanderson's work. Next read, I read Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang, which is like it's a literary fiction thriller, I want to say. So we're following a main character. She is white and she steals manuscript from her Asian friend and passes it on as her own work. And this is a book where I felt like I really did not like the main character. She was frustrating me and she made so many bad choices, but then it's like I really wanted to know how things would go and how things will end up, so it just kept me reading. I rated it at 4.5 stars. It's definitely a good book. I read it on my Kindle, so it was so good. I had to read it, and I love R.F. Kuang's work. I still haven't read all her work. I think I still have the Poppy War trilogy I want to get to, but yeah, it was a really good book. I was definitely in my sci-fi era at the end of summer. It went from like romance, fantasy to like sci-fi. It was so fun. So then I picked up the Rising Trilogy and it was so good. It was like recommended for like Hunger Games in space, and it just keeps the books keep getting better and better and better. So I rated the first one like about, it was 5 stars to me, 5 stars. And then the Golden Sun, 6 stars. This one is my favorite, and this is the second one, favorite book. And this one with Morningstar is the third book in the trilogy, and I rated it 5 stars. It's like, I believe this was Pierce Brown's first books ever that he's written, and I can already tell with his writing it just gets better and better and better. And I recommend it to anybody that wants to get into sci-fi. I loved it so much. I think about it till this day, and I want to reread it so bad. And I also have the other books, so it's like Iron Gold, Dark Age, and Lightbringer. Lightbringer just came out in 2023, and I'm so excited to continue. Then I needed to cleanse my palette because I was reading so much romance, fantasy. I was like, okay, I need a break. So I read Don't Let Her Stay by Nicola Sanders, and it's a thriller. So whenever I need like a palette cleanse, I notice I go to like thriller books. I rated it like 3.5 stars. I finished it in like a day. It was such a quick read. Someone inside your house wants you dead, but no one believes you. And I was like, ooh, I gotta read it. Next read was The House in the Cilan Sea by TJ Klune, and it was so good. Very cozy fantasy read. I rated it about 4.5 stars. So good. It's like found family vibes, and all the kids have like magic. It's about a social worker that goes to kind of review a orphanage that holds the most deadliest, dangerous children in the whole world. Especially there's one that's like this Satan. I was like, oh, it sounds like a good book. I read it, so good, for cozy vibes. Then I started Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. I read the ACOTAR series back in 2022 and I loved it. I finished it like in a month. That was so good. So I started Throne of Glass. I have so far read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire. I don't know why I didn't read Assassin's Blade, and I have Assassin's Blade. I know it's just a novella, but I feel like I should have read it first, but I skipped it because I was like, maybe I don't need to read it. And it definitely put me in a slump, but it's good. I rated Throne of Glass was 4 star. Crown of Midnight, I want to say it was a 4 stars as well. And then Heir of Fire, which is the 3rd installment, I rated it 3.5 stars. I will still continue this series eventually. I just needed a break because I think it's an 8-book series. I definitely needed a break. My next read was The Housemade by Breda McFadden. So I read The Housemade. I heard that it was really good. It was going super popular on TikTok. So Nina was hired as a nanny, and she stays at this house, and it's so weird, like weird things going on, and she has to stay in the attic that's locked from the outside. It was really weird, but I gave it a 3.5 stars. Really good. It was fast paced. I think I read it in like a day. I have not read the second book, and I believe it's The Housemaid's Secrets. Yeah, it's The Housemaid's Secrets. I'm not sure if I'll continue, but it was definitely a good read. And then I went back to sci-fi and read Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is his YA sci-fi series. Okay, so we're following Spencer, and she wants to her world has been under attack for decades by these aliens, and she wants to be a pilot. She wants to fly the spaceships. She wants to be fighting all these aliens to save humanity. And this is a really good series. I feel I've only read the first one. I definitely want to continue on to the second one. I rated this one, I believe, 4. Oh no, I rated 5 stars. So but I want to say it's about 4.5 stars because I think it's because it's the first book. So 4.5 stars. Then I read Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young, which is like, I want to say it was like mystery with a hint of witches. So like this was definitely a good book for fall. And I rated it, I want to say it's 4 stars. I rated 4 stars. It was really good. I do want to read more of Adrienne Young's work. So in the fall, if you're wanting to add a book to your TBR, this one's a good one. Ooh, and I almost missed it. I read Divine Rivals over the summer actually before. I read it by Rebecca Ross. It's my first book that I read of Rebecca Ross, and it's my favorite. I rated it 6 stars. I love the romance, the fantasy. This is more of a romance book in a fantasy world. So if you're looking for more romance, this is for you. There's not a lot of like world building. So good. 6 stars. I think about it daily. I still have to read the second installment, which is Ruthless Vows. So good. I love reading Iris and Roman's love story. I love it, and I am so ready to reread it. Then I read the Six of Crows duology. I loved it. I read the Shadow of Bone book and I DNF'd it because I was like, it's kind of boring. But I watched the series and it was really good. So I was like, let me give Six of Crows a try. And these two 6-star reads. Honestly, it was so good. I was so into the characters. I love how she brought Lee Bardugo was like giving us all the point of views of each of the main characters. Love the heist, love the action. It was like non-stop action. It made me laugh, it made me want to cry, and so good. So if you haven't read this duology, so good. Read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I was so interested in reading this book because the movie was coming out, and I finally watched it and it was super good, but I wanted to read it first because I really wanted to kind of compare it to the movie. I gave it about 4 stars. It is a bit slow, but I loved how she gave us how Suzanne Collins gave us the point of view of Snow. So this is definitely a villain origin story where you really want to root for them to be the good guy, but you know they're gonna be the bad guy in the end. So it definitely made me think that Snow could change this for the better, but I knew it was definitely not. Then I read The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry. I was hearing it was a really good read by Gabrielle Zevin. So since I read Tomorrow, I was like, let me give this a try. It was a really quick read. It was only like 260 pages. Literary fiction, and we followed this bookstore owner named A.J. Fikry, and he owns this book and prized possession in a rare collection of Edgar Allan Poe's poems, and it was stolen. And also he came to realize that there was also another package in his bookstore waiting for him, and it was so good. It was such a lighthearted read. It made me just so happy, and it made me want to feel so bad, like cry for the main character. It was so good. I definitely recommend reading it. I rated it 4 stars. Last but not least, I read Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. So I never read the book growing up, but I watched the movies, and I felt like that was like a big mistake that I made, because the books and the movie, the movies did not do the book justice. The books were so much better. Also, the books are followed by a 12-year-old. We're following little middle schoolers, not like high schoolers that was like adapted in the movie. This was so much better, and I also wanted to read it because they were coming out with a new TV series on Disney Plus, so I really wanted to see how it would compare to the TV series, and it was so good. I feel like I missed out when I was young. I rated this about 5 stars, and I'm so excited to continue reading the series. I really just want to binge read the series, but I bought the rest of the series because I was like, I gotta read it. Those were all the books that I read in 2023. I feel like it was such a good year. I had really good books, I really say, because the lowest rating was like 3.5 stars. So it was such a good year. I feel like I'm gonna read about the same amount for 2024 because I want to read really good quality books. I want to focus on quality, not on quantity. Just so excited for the new year, new goals. So excited. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, stay a while, and let's just enjoy books, self-care stuff together. Bye, bestie.